Hi, my name is Brian Maurer, and welcome to my visual autobiography. My life as an artist began early, just watching Back to the Future and wanting to play guitar like Marty McFly. My mom had a guitar exactly like that guy's guitar in the movie, and I just thought it was so cool and so intense how he laid on his back and just danced all around, and I just wanted to be able to do that. So I started to play my mom's guitar. She taught me a bit as well, got lessons, hated lessons. Then she took the lessons away and said, if you want to go back, you got to practice. So I basically taught myself for a really long time how to play Metallica and other things. And then she decided, hey, I better get this kid some lessons. He's serious. Get into the guitar, rock guitar, and just learned a lot and developed a deep passion for it in playing and creating music. I took that and transferred that to percussion because my brother, who's about 5 years older than me, he was into it. He was always telling me stories and about when he would go to lessons and get to play with, you know, this great teacher who, you know, was very famous around our town in Norfolk, Virginia. His name is Ralph Copley. He still gigs out, and I got a chance to gig with him as a professional later on in life. So that was just a really cool experience. And then that just kind of continued on into college. I then got a hunger to write music formally, so I got a bachelor's of music in music composition. Did a lot of marching band arranging, specifically for percussion, but wrote about 3 field shows for the wind and the percussion, just complete original music. So that's an artist in a nutshell. My life experience as a researcher, I guess, is relatively new, but aren't we always researching things to some degree, answering questions? So I guess that started late in my undergrad, where I really began to see the value in asking really interesting and unique questions that were my own, instead of just filling in blanks and doing assignments, but actually having a hunger to have my own questions answered, which has obviously led me to the PhD in music ed here at the University of Minnesota. And then my life as a teacher, my experience has been it's been incredible. The passion that I felt when I was a student, all the teachers I got to encounter, Adolphus Hailstork, David Walker, Andrei Kasparov, John Toomey, all these guys at ODU, other friends of mine that were teachers in the percussion and marching percussion world, like Steve Roberts. Just the mentoring that I received and the insight into my own life, being a grown up just in a single family, a single mom at home, divorced. So I didn't have that guidance from a mentor, a male mentor, and I really got that from my music education, and I think that's a large part of why I wanted to, join academia and continue to teach at the higher ed level. And I've gotten to do that 4 years already. Hope to continue to do that. My 10 words I had to describe myself were generous. My cultural identity, were generous, rock music, empathetic, drummer, socialite, creative, compassionate, spiritual, tenacious, and lastly, serving others. These are more concepts and words, some of them, but there you go. Generous, rock music, empathetic, drummer, socialite, creative, compassionate, spiritual, tenacious, and serving others. That last one in particular, I think, is the hub of all the 10, because serving others to me applied to a life event recently when I was teaching at Minnesota West Community College in Worthington, Minnesota. It's a rural community college of about 400 on-campus undergrad students and about 30 or 40 faculty, and just a really being from the East Coast originally, Virginia, about 1,500 miles away, and then being a teacher in the classroom in a small place like that, there was just a lot of culture clash. But I also feel like I brought a lot to that school in terms of diversity because I had lived in California and Oakland and near San Fran. I lived in Baltimore. My wife's from Philadelphia. I grew up in a big military town, as you learned in my first vid. So I think I'm just a lot more comfortable with multiple ethnic groups, if you would, and then just being, in church for pretty much all my life, and doing missions trips and things like that, and being real open to exchanging culture and ideas with others whose views aren't like mine, but yet we still get along. So I think the story I want to share again is at Minnesota West, the students that were athletes, football players, were very much marginalized on campus. They weren't treated the same by the other students on campus, mostly white students there that really just kind of were afraid of inner city people from Detroit, and inner city people from Chicago, and just intimidated, not used to that. And I feel like what the experience I had in my music theory class for fundamentals of music was basically, how do I get these football players from Detroit to want to do well in my class? And that was just very humbling because none of them really cared. Mostly they did assignments in class. They were just trying to take a class so they could have their scholarship. And so when you deal with music education on that level, where most of your students don't care, 18 out of 20 in your classroom do not care. They just need to make a scholarship requirement and a federal loan requirement for attendance. It's a real eye-opener on, wow, can I just teach this subject, or do I have to reach these people? And so I started a music tech club, and I recruited some of the talent that I saw in that class, people that football players that had either lyrical talent, they like rap music, or they had some type of instrumental talent that they showed just throughout day in and day out of that class. It was met 3 times a week. So that went really well, and at one point we had about 5 guys from the football team just making beats on a really nice computer that they didn't have when they were living in the city, and they didn't have that access. So to be able to provide that access to serve them and serve their needs was very, very cool, and I got to use something I feel that's one of my biggest strengths as a music educator and as a human being. So there you go. Sorry for going long. Thanks for watching. I'm Brian. Talk to you later. The image that I feel that best represents my cultural identity is that of a tree. I remember reading my 18-month-old daughter, The Giving Tree, and for some people this is a sad story, others it's happy, but nonetheless I think that the tree is a symbol of generosity, of selflessness, and of sustainability. And those things I think are core to who I am and how I live my life, how I teach.